Hi class, we're going to work on looping structures a little bit, and I've got the program that we did in the video for chapter 3 about if statements, and in this program we prompted for a numeric day, and then we determined what string day value that was equal to, and then we asked for a number of days that have elapsed, and we calculated what that day would be and used a switch case statement to populate our string variable for that, and then we output it. So that was our program where we did a little bit of practice with if statements. Of course, you're going to do a lot more practice on your own. Practice makes perfect. Now for this program, what I'd like to do is change it a little bit, and I'd like to add the capability to allow the user to do another conversion or another day check, and we're going to enclose all of this existing logic in a loop structure so that we can repeat this whole thing over and over based on our users' desires. So I'm going to start up here right here where we use our scanner input, and we're going to write out some messages that have to do with our program. And remember, in NetBeans I can type SOUT and tab, and that'll fill in the system.out.println. Now do remember how to type that exactly, because casing and everything is important, but we can use that shortcut when we're coding. Give me your day and I'll tell you its name. Now I'm sure you can come up with something really awesome here. I'll do a nice line of dots. Okay. Then I'm going to have one last output, and I'm going to say, would you like to check a day? And then I'm going to give them 0 for yes, 1 for no. Now, when I do this, you might be thinking, obviously, why don't you just have them do a Y or an N? And the reason being is that when we're working with strings like that, Y's and N's, our if statements require a little bit of more, different work. So we're going to go ahead and keep it simple at this point in our Java training and work with integers, and that just is going to give us the ability to handle things a little bit easier in our program, and we'll be learning about doing string comparisons and things later. Now I'll go ahead and change this from a print ln to just a print. Most of the statements that we've been using for our code that we've been submitting in hypergrade, we've been using a print. Okay, and then I'm going to read that into an integer. We'll call it u choice. And I want the next integer. Now, if I want to check our choice, check the user's choice, we're going to do it with a while statement. So while their choice is 0, we're going to repeat our entire body of code. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this closing curly brace, and I'm going to start selecting right here at this comment, and I'm going to select all of my code down to the bottom, and I'm going to leave out that closing curly brace, because that closing curly brace is ending our main method, and so we don't want to disturb it. I'm going to go ahead and press the tab key, and that will indent all of my code, if you notice, very nicely. Then I can press enter and add my closing curly brace. I'll go ahead and label that. That's the end of my while. Now, labeling these closing curly braces is totally up to you. It's just helpful as a beginning programmer to kind of keep track of where things are. So now I've got a while loop implemented in my program, and I've set up my variable and read it in, and then I'm saying while that variable is 0, I'm going to prompt the user for the day today, etc., etc. Well, when we were looking at our presentation earlier, we said there were 3 things we had to do for a loop control variable. We had to initialize it, we have to test it, and we need to update it. And in our program right now, we're not updating it yet. So let's add that code. I'm going to copy these 2 lines, and I'm going to bring them down to the end of our loop, but I'm going to put them inside of our loop. Did not retain spacing very well, so I'll fix that. And our variable is already declared, so I'll get rid of that data type keyword. So now at the end of the loop, after I output the message about what today is, we can say, would you like to check a day again? And we'll do yes or no. I'm going to go ahead and add a statement to output a blank line in between those 2, and that'll take care of that. So now in our code, we're prompting our user to ask if they'd like to check a day, and as long as they continue answering 0, yes, they would like to, we'll keep running the code inside of our loop, which was our original program, and ask them for days. So let's try it. I have saved some original code, so I have an error. So I'm going to click run anyways, but you wouldn't normally want to do that because you'd want to debug your error. Now our program is working properly so far. Excuse me. It says, welcome to the day array, or whatever I did there. Give me your day and I'll tell you its name. Would you like to check a day? So I'm going to say yes. Where's my cursor? Yes. Enter today's day. I'll do my 5 and elapsed days 3. Today is Friday and the future day is Monday. Okay, would you like to check a day? I'll do a 0 again. Ooh, it's been a whole week. That's true. Okay, so I'm going to say number 1. No, I don't want to. Now, the way our program is set up, if the user types a non-numeric character, we'll get an append. It'll cancel because of non-numeric data. But any other numeric data they enter besides 0 would cause our loop to end. So that's fine. We just need to be aware that that's the case. Now this program is ready to document. I did not put documentation at the top that I need to do, heading documentation, and I did a little bit of inline documentation, but let's get into those good programming habits and put our heading documentation up at the top so that we've got our copyright and our name and everything in there in our code. Now, we could do a little bit more experimenting with some loops. Let's see. I think I'll go ahead and create a new project. New projects are cheap, right? And we could use our existing project and add more to it if we wanted to. So either way, and I'm going to call this Chapter 5 Test. And I'm going to delete. You can do this better than me, I hope. This word and the dot to get rid of our package so that we just have a main class. So here's our new project, and in our main, let's try some looping. First, I'm going to set up an integer named count, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. And then I'm going to use a while loop, and while count is less than 10, my computer was not there with me there for a second. I'm going to output a message that says count is okay. So let's try it. We don't have a lot of code here. What's gonna happen? So it's looping, and our counter was initialized at 0, and our test condition is to run while it's less than 10. We are never updating our counter, so it's always less than 10. So we've created an infinite loop. Now, when we're using our NetBeans development environment, we can click the stop button, and that should kill our infinite loop. To fix that, we're going to add to our counter. Now let's try it. And we get some nice output for our different counter variables. Looks good. So now let's try it with a for loop. And with a for loop, I'm just going to start with the keyword for, and then within my parentheses, I'm going to be setting up my variable declaration, its test condition, and its increment. So let's use a different integer. We'll call it range, and we'll start with it at 0. And we want to execute this loop while range is less than 10, and we want to increment range each time we execute our loop body. In this one then, we're going to say range is, and our range variable. Let's try it. So now we got out our count variable and then our range variable, and notice that they behaved pretty much exactly the same. We initialized a loop control variable, we created a test condition for that variable, and then we added the code to increment that variable, just in a little bit different of a way. So either way is fine. Now we can also do a do while loop, and its syntax is do, and I'm going to put a opening curly brace there, and after we specify our do, we are going to have our code body. I think I'll go ahead and create a new variable for this one, and we'll call it do count. Now we're starting out with our do count equal to 0, and we're going to output our message. I guess after that, how about we'll just increment our variable. Now, with our do while loop, our while condition comes at the end. Remember, it's a bottom controlled. So we're going to say while do count is less than 10. And our closing semicolon. So our do while syntax is just a little different, because if you notice, our while loop and our for loop don't really require a semicolon at all in the actual statement, where our do while actually does. Now let's see if everything comes out right. We've got 0 through 9 for count, 0 through 9 for range, and 0 through 9 for do count. So everything looks good. Now you can take this small program and modify it to try some different things and get yourself thinking about all of the different loops. We could add some inner loops if we wanted to within our code. Let's see, within our do count, let's repeat our for loop. I'll copy it, paste it, clean it up. You guys are all yelling, I know, saying, just do such and such. It's all right. Now, I'm going to add \T to this output because that's going to tab it over. So let's see how this works now. So in our sample here, when we added our for loop inside of our do while, we nested it. For every time we execute our do while, we're going to do our complete for loop from 0 through 9. So we can see that in our output. We have do count as 1, and then we iterate through all of our range values from 0 to 9. So as we nest our loops, it gives us the ability to control more operations and make more advanced calculations. So I'm going to give you an opportunity on your own to experiment with loops. It is a huge, powerful part of our programming language. So I hope you take some time and do some testing with things. Thank you.